Alright, so we're going to go ahead and talk about an arithmetic sequence. First thing you need to understand about a sequence is going to be a list of numbers. If you look at a sub n right here, I've got a list of numbers of 1, 5, 9, 11, and 13. Down here, I have b sub n, which is 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. And then I have c sub n, which is 5, 10, 15, and 20. Now, if you hear the way I'm reading, my A, and then right here it's assumed to say sub, so you would actually say this as A sub n. It's just the same way we would read as f of x is f of x. So to read this would be A sub n, B sub n, C sub n, and then the list of the numbers. Underneath each one of these list of numbers, your A sub n, notice it is a capital letter. Each one of these would be an element. So like 1 would be an element, 5 is going to be an element, 9 is going to be an element. And the way we can actually label these is we're going to use the lowercase letter, in this case A, and its location. Well, this is the first one, so that would be A sub 1. 5 would be A sub 2. 9 would be A sub 3. And that's how we go through these. Down here with the B sub n, this would be B sub 1, B sub 2. You're just using the lowercase letters, and then the index or the subscript is kind of like the address. Where is its location within the sequence of numbers? Now, to figure out if something's in an arithmetic sequence, what you need to do is you need to determine if there is a constant rate of change between the terms, between the elements. The way we do this, we have to find a common difference. If it has a common difference, it's arithmetic. If it does not have a common difference, then it is not an arithmetic sequence. The way we can do this is D stands for common difference. We're going to do A sub 2 minus A sub 1. So we're going to plug these in. We're going to do 5 minus 1 is 4. Now you have to do this at least twice, because common implies that it happens for more than one, whereas in math, if it only happens once, it's called unique. So we can do again. We can say, well, hey, we can do A sub 3 minus A sub 2. So you want to pick two consecutive numbers. It's like 1 and 5, 5 and 9, 9 and 11, 11 and 13. And you're going to take the further out number, like in this case, like A sub 3. And we're going to subtract it from the number that comes before it, which is A sub 2. So this becomes 9 minus 5, which is 4. So that means for this arithmetic sequence, my common difference is 4, and it is an arithmetic sequence because there is a common difference. A sub 1 is always going to be denoted as our first term. So the second thing that I'm going to ask you to do is I want to ask you to find the nth term equation or an algebraic expression. We're going to use this equation right here. A sub n equals A sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. All we're going to do is we're going to plug in the first term of the sequence and my common difference. So when we look at A sub n here, my first term, my A sub 1, is 1. So to do the equation is going to be A sub n equals 1 plus my n minus 1. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to leave it as n minus 1. And then I'll put my 4. From here, I just clean it up. I'm going to distribute, which will give me 1 plus 4n minus 4. Combine like terms, and I end up with 4n minus 3. And this would be my nth term equation. So now let's look at my example here, my big set B sub n. Let's look and see if it's got a common difference, because if it has a common difference, then it's going to be an arithmetic sequence. So here we go. We're going to do B sub 2 minus B sub 1, which is going to be 2 minus 1, which is 1. Then we'll do B sub 3 minus B sub 2, which is 4 minus 2, which is 2. Well, these are different numbers, so this one is not an arithmetic sequence. It'll be a geometric. We'll learn that later. So let's look at C sub n. My A sub 1, well, let's find our common difference. We're going to do 10, which would be my C sub 2 minus my C sub 1. 10 minus 5 which is 5. Then we do c sub 3 minus c sub 2, which will be 15 minus 10, which is 5. So I have a common difference. So my d is 5. My c sub 1, which is the same thing in the formula as a sub 1. It just means first term. And in this case, it's 5. So I'm going to use my equation, a sub n equals 5 plus my n minus 1's left alone times my d. Well, my d is 5. So now we're going to just kind of clean this up. We're going to distribute my 5, and I'll get 5 plus 5n minus 5, which means that it's going to be 5n when I combine like terms. Now, I can ask you several different things off of this. Let's take, for example, say, using my c sub n, I want to find out c sub 30. I want to know the 30th term. Well, what I would actually do is take this 30, I replaced it with the n, and I'm just going to plug it in. I'm going to do 5 times 30, because my equation over here is 5n. I took this n out, replaced it with a 30. I took this n, replaced it with the 30s, just like if you were doing f of x. And then from here, we just multiply, which will be 150. I could also ask you, hey, if you have c sub n, what is n when I have 300? Well, from there, we can still use this formula over here. Still use this formula over here. In this case, we're going to basically just do 300 equals 5n, divide both sides by 5, and that's going to give me n is 60. So that means c sub n, well, c sub 60 is 300. Those are the basic questions that you'll be asked on the arithmetic sequence. Just go ahead and go to the next video to see how we do sigma, which will become an arithmetic series.